We are back at our favorite hunting spot. We have an area wherein a lot of bedrocks are exposed.
This is all flood gold. What we tend to do is just take all this surface off, even though there's gold in it, and we'll rake it down until we start hitting the bedrock, like that. Once we know we've got a clay bottom, or a bedrock bottom, like that, then we'll push all that out of that bedrock like that, taking anything up to an inch off the clay as well, just in case there is. And the bigger bits of gold, they sit in that there, in the bedrock itself, is the bigger bits. All the smaller flour gold is just amongst the top. So what we do is we break it, including the bedrock, like that. Expose all of the crevices. And then, theoretically, the bigger bits will be in amongst this here, sitting on that. And in fact, you can actually see a couple of little bits of flour gold in there.
There you go.
You can actually see it in it. Every now and then you get an ironstone that looks like a spinel. We like looking for spinels because we do chase sapphires and they're associated with it. But once we find a place like this, take all that off and then hit that with a screwdriver, and the bigger chunky bits with amongst that. So we tend to clean it. If you've got a brush, it's even better. Now every handful of this will have flour gold in it, and about every 20th handful will have a little picture of it. Now instead of using the fingers, a really good stiff brush is a lot more efficient. This is a real flood prone area up here, and what happens is every time there's a couple inches of rain, even though the water looks like it's 50 feet that way, it actually comes up over all this, re-washes all the surface gravel around, redeposits the finer stuff onto this bottom here. Where you go 1 week, you think you cleaned it all up, come back to the same spot after the next flood, just as much flour gold back in it again, second time around. Okay, we'll give that a bit of a go.
Okay. It's hot!
Okay, we've got ourselves half a bucket of dirt here. What we'll do, usually we want to run this through a bit of a classifier, saves a bit of time, but the rocks aren't that big, so when we're prospecting, we don't actually use a classifier. We only use a classifier if we want to do any volume of work. So what we do is we throw it all in there, bar the really big rocks, liquefy the whole lot of it, round and round, backwards and forwards, to make sure that you get all the clay off the bigger bits. You agitate it to a point where you've got the gold at the bottom. Then what you got a whole lot of big rocks on the top, which normally, if you were to put it through a classifier, they wouldn't be there. But it's just as easy with your hand. You've got yourself, spread them about 1 centimetre or so, and just rake it. While you're actually shaking with your hand on the back of the pan, the weight goes to the front. So we've got a hole in the back of the pan, and the ripples are on the front of the pan. Hold it towards the back and to one side, so that when you've got the weight in there, it's actually sloping forward easy without you actually trying to lift the pan up. So liquefy it. As you're doing that, the bigger rocks come to the top, so run your fingers across the top of it in a raking situation. Keep on moving it and keep on moving the water, so you can't rake gold with it. The gold will be still sitting in that front part of the pan. As soon as you do that and rake it back, all the bigger rocks are all in the back here. Do the same thing, run your fingers through. Lift most of the rocks out. Holding your pan, don't hold your pan at an angle. A lot of people hold their pan too much of an angle when they're doing this first part of it. Hard to throw gold out, especially if you've got something like a super sluice with really big riffles in. It's hard to throw the gold out. So if you get your pan to float with a very slight angle to the front, and then you can be fairly vigorous. When you're doing this in a swirling action...
Hang on, stop, I'll go over here. Keep
when
going.
you actually go into a swirling action like this, that's how you run a speed pan. Now a lot of these speed pans rely on throwing the stuff over the side and centering the gold to the middle of the pan, and that's what you're actually doing. When you swirl it like that, 90% of your heavies are swirling to the centre of the pan here, not around the outside edges. So what you do is you do that, and then by doing that swirl action, you can afford without too much dip in the pan, you can afford to be quite vigorous. No way you're going to throw even the finest gold out like this. The other thing to notice is if you're going from side to side, slower and slower, getting it to the middle, the alternative method, roll the stuff over the top with the bigger rocks. Just roll them over the top. Once you've done that, you can't have it liquefied. When you're rolling stuff off the top, what you've got to do, you've got to get it to the bottom, go like that, then unliquefy your gravel. That way, only the surface comes off. The unliquefied stuff, which is your gold, sits in the bottom. Won't come off. Right, back into that swirling action. I prefer to do the swirling action because it's a speed pan action. I can clear it a lot quicker than just using that method there where you just roll the top off. Short little swirls, keeping a lot of water in your pan. Keep the lip at least an inch below the water and use volume of water. Otherwise, you're going to get a film on top of the water. You get surface tension. If you've got fine gold, that surface tension is going to float some of your gold out. So by doing that like that, you get it to the backwash stage. Got a few ironstones in there. You get it to there, and then you do the backwash. And then we'll do a little bit of a backwash. Now this is only from one little pan. That's the ironstone. What we should really do, even though that's not classified, we'll take that ironstone off. And in fact, I'm actually quite surprised with what.
Okay.
I'll take that ironstone off first, those bigger bits.
Okay, so you can see, okay, there's gold in them, their pans, okay.
Anyway, I'll take that ironstone off, and then we'll backwash that last little bit. We might actually continue with that little spot there, because there's actually quite a, for one pan, that is not...
Okay, so that's quite a fair bit. Okay, so we'll do that like that, because we can't see it in the sun. Look at that, isn't that beautiful? So not bad for one pan in a flour gold area. Okay, we can retire now, boss.
Alright, once we've got it into the bottom of the pan, each pan will be a little bit different. I'll get that black sand, most of it out. There we go, a little bit of a gentle backwash. Gets the black sand right to the bottom like that. Then what I'll do, I'll let the water go back further forward, get the snuffer bottle out, push all this together, like that, into one little corner. Get the snuffer bottle out. One snuff and it's all pretty well gone. These snuffer bottles are a lot better than your plastic ball ones. These are the snuffer bottles we use. We actually make them ourselves. That gets pretty well one suck and the whole lot of it's out in one hit. What these snuffer bottles are, so I don't stick anything out there, a turkey baster. That's all they are, that you can buy from your kitchen shop. I'll try not to. Yeah, they're very, very cheap, you know, like $5 is about all you need to spend for it. The gold's in there. Standard turkey baster. That part was this long. We cut it off. We just get some hot glue and a little tube, put it through the end, make sure it comes a bit further up so it goes into the ball like that. Even if it's shorter, it won't make much difference because the gold will still only sit in this bottom part here. Beauty of having a rubber snuffer bottle, you can buy some commercial ones, but if you're lazy like us, or you can't find one, turkey baster, it's all you need.
And we tie a bit of string as well.
Bit of string when we're sniping. We use them underwater, so we put them on ourselves when we're sniping. That's just like that, we're underwater, and then you're swimming around and you're shaking all the gold out of the crevices. You've got your snuffer bottle nice and handy. We only do that for sniping. If you're just out on the field, you wouldn't, but a string doesn't hurt to have on it, a little short piece of lanyard to it. And yeah, worthwhile making. These things here are certainly a lot better than the little plastic ones you can buy for $5 in the shop. Okay, if you're going to go panning and you're starting out, you need a couple of things. You need a couple of buckets. It depends on whether you're going to go prospecting and you're going to use a classifier. You don't have to use a classifier. I've got one here just to show you how to do volume. What you do with a classifier, you get yourself two. You've got to have two gold pans or something to put your classifier into in the water. So what you do is you set one in the water with a rock on it, go down into a foot of water, find yourself, there's never a stone when you want a stone. You get yourself a bit of a stone to keep your gold pan down onto the bottom. Find a spot that's at least twice the width of your classifier. Get different sorts, you get high and low classifiers. And then what you got, if you've got a bucket full of stuff, rather than throw it straight in the pan, if you're new to the game, you're much better off classifying. Use your other gold pan so nothing goes through it. Put a reasonable amount into that. Big rocks, small rocks. With that, leave the pan there and float it. Go over your other pan and classify. times, backwards, forwards, round and round a bit. If you're in a nugget area, hang on to your stuff and have a look at it. If you're not in a nugget area, like we are here, flour gold, just chuck it out in the river anywhere you want. That way, you can classify your heavies all in one hit into one pan. Make sure your pan is bigger than your classifier so you don't throw stuff over the sides. If you go from side to side both ways, if there is a nugget and you go up and down, same as you do with sapphires, if there is a nugget, it'll be in the centre. So when you do flip it, all your heavies, your ironstone, and if there is a nugget, it'll sit right on the back, you won't miss it. Classify your whole bucket out. Now you can do this with a liner bucket. You can have half a dozen buckets if you want, and just spend the first part of your trip classifying it all out. I mean, you can always rake through and double check. A nugget will stand out anyway, but you'll see it when you flip it anyway like that. Your nugget will stand out. You've got a little bit left in there, which is not really all that much. But just in case, I'm on top of my other pan just there. I'll just put that in. Doesn't really matter. Now you've got yourself, from that bucket, classified material. What you can do then is you can just tip that into your bucket. Like that. Leave it on the side of your river. Get your other bucket. Go back up onto the side where you've been working if it's away from the water. Get your bucket, get your pick, get your shovel, get some more, come down, reclassify it till you've got a whole bucket full of classified material. Save you a lot of time. If you're prospecting and you're just looking for places where you might want to set a high banker up, you wouldn't waste your time doing that. You just bring the bucket down and you don't even use a classifier, you use your hand like I showed you before, raking it out. What I'll do now, I've got this in here. What I'll do, if you're in a position where you've got a fair bit of gold in your pan, I've lost my rock.
We got another rock.
Okay, I've put my pan in the bottom now. Now what I'm going to suggest, if you're new to the game and you're not sure how aggressive you can be, do what we call a double pan. Always, you should have two pans with you in any case. Always good to have two pans. What you do when you're double panning, put your material into the first pan just to see whether you are too aggressive or if you've got the wrong angles. You know you've got a pan below you. Now I'll put that where I can see it real easy. Right. Normal technique. Liquefy all your materials. First up, keep your pan fairly flat. Only a small dip when you're first starting. People make a mistake of going too much of an angle and doing that. They go that too quick from the beginning. If you do that from the beginning and you've got flour gold, it can be in amongst all this. It's not always that the flour gold goes to the bottom real fast. Your bigger pieces will, but not always your small bits. So keep the front fairly high, but you can be, by doing that, you can be quite aggressive. Right, again, like I said, two actions. Action number one, which is your most common one, side to side. Make sure it's unliquefied before you do that, so that the gold doesn't move. If you was to still do that, and there's a lot of liquid in it and you're doing that, fine gold can still, heavy gold won't, but fine gold can still go over. So the whole idea, liquefy the whole lot, get it to the point where you've got no water in it pretty well, and then take the surface off. Right, that's the easy way to learn. But like I said, the speed pan version is the swirl, and if you look at, I don't know if you can see that there, Liz, but if you've got that action going, you can actually see the heavy ironstones dancing in a circle. What's happening with those ironstones and the gold, they are spinning around in a circle like that. And that circle spinning is also going to stop any water tension, and that won't let your superfine gold float out in the water tension as well. So So that's what I prefer to use, a combination of both. Then you just do your backwash.
Some colour.
Right, and that's only from that little bit in there. Now this is all superfine flour gold, so you can be pretty aggressive and you still get all that fine flour gold. It doesn't go out, including in the water tension.
That's pretty good.
Now, even being as aggressive as that with the finest gold that we've got pretty well in New South Wales, over here in Australia where we actually go, if I now check my second pan, I'll be a little bit more careful with this one so that I can get every single little flake that I've missed. Right, same thing, liquefy the whole lot, keep the front, be aggressive to a point at the back, don't be too aggressive, you'll soon find out when you're too aggressive. But if you keep a big sharp angle on there, a flat surface, it is very hard. For gold to get from there to there is almost impossible unless it is absolutely superfine flour gold. And the only way that'll do that is if you are not aggressive enough and it gets caught in the surface tension of the water, then it can go out with the surface tension. That's why insects can land on the water. That's why you can get a pin and you can float it on the water. It's called surface tension. And fine gold and surface tension, they don't go well together at all. Right, now I'm going to be very, very careful here to see what I've actually missed. Now I'm saying the bit that I showed you, I was super aggressive with that. Now, as aggressive as I was,
Which was pretty aggressive.
Now, no one's perfect. Now we've got one flake of gold and one that you could not even hardly see with a magnifying glass.
Okay, now it's blurring up. And there you go.
That is what's come through the second pan. So if you're getting to a point where you're getting 50 bits and you're losing one little tiny piece of flour gold, don't worry about it. You don't need that one little piece. You've got to make sure you're getting 99.9% of it. That's good enough. Okay, just to show you how aggressive you can actually be, I'll get a bit from our last high banking trip we had the other day. I'll throw this into here, and that'll show you how aggressive, probably 2-3 grams, maybe even a little bit more.
You just tip out my gold. Okay.
Yeah, I'll just tip that into there. Now, when you've got a fair bit, as per if you're emptying out a high banker.
Okay, I'll just show you what fair bit, because I wanted him to show you how much there was there, but...
And this is all fine gold.
Okay, there you go. So that's all the gold. You can see those gold there. And there's more, those yellow stuff there. Okay, just showing you those ones there. There's gold.
There'd be about 4 or 5 grams.
No, there's 5.6 grams in there from our last high banking trip. But anyway, okay, my hands is covered in gold. I got gold fingers now. Why can't you just put some water in here? Look, I don't want to even move. Okay, doesn't matter. There you go.
Yep.
Okay. There you go.
Okay, just to prove how aggressive you can actually be with these Garrett super sluices. You can be a lot more aggressive than with a standard sluice, but if my suggestion always is get your best sluice. In my book, you can't beat the Garrett super sluice. Again, you go from side to side, liquefy the whole lot, take all your surface stuff off with your hand. Keep away from your second pan. Take all that coarse stuff, again holding pretty close to the back of the pan. Get the stuff to the front, all your heavies and your ironstones, like doing that will go to the front. Your heavier stones will come to the surface. Don't rake too far down, try to keep your fingers raking on the surface. You'll take out 99% of the big rocks in only a matter of a very short time. Make sure that you are over your pan when the water's dirty like this, because we have got a fair bit in here. Right, now, yeah, I'm going to do this reasonably aggressively, taking the bigger stones out, just to show you don't have to be super careful. Right, now, and then you see a little bit of the fine, because we've got some really fine flour gold in there, a little bit will go over, not a lot. That's why you run a double pan if you've got a lot of gold. Right? You can see, if you get closer, I don't know if you can see it from there, but you can see your ironstones and everything that's heavy dancing in a circle. By doing that, it is dancing in a circle. Right, bring those ironstones back, the heavier ones. Right, again, keep it going in a circle like that. Take these bigger ones back. Right, now once you're at that stage, and you've got that amount in it, then I suggest your backwash. With your backwash, get everything up to the front of the pan, again with a bit of a swirl happening. Then, slowly, load water onto the front, take your bigger rocks back, backwash to the point where you're taking your bigger rocks back like that in the first place. You can see that there's no gold come back with it, your gold's all up there.
He hasn't lost my gold.
Go to the front, like that, take your water back, and you can dump that straight away. Now you go the same thing again, put some water in, plenty of water in, and keep it liquefied.
Okay, they're still
like
there.
that. Take your bigger stuff back, have a look. You can see by just going backwards and forwards, you can see that there's no gold in that. Just by doing that, you can see there's no gold in the back of that. Gold's 19 times heavier than water, so not much of a chance. Then when you get to your last little bit like that, the whole idea is get a bit of a swirl going. Go like that, get the water swirling a bit, and just give the pan a bit of a shake as the water's going over. Put water over the top, a little bit of a shake coming back. You see the ironstones coming back and the fine black sand coming back.
Okay, do it again.
Soak the front of it slowly and a shake back. At that back shake, all you're doing is taking the ironstone and the black sand back, and you're leaving yourself a very clean tail of gold. Now, as aggressive as we were there, I reckon if we've lost 1, 2, maybe at the most 3 little bits of flour gold in that second pan,
10.
then that's a lot. So I'll do the same again, and that's, now we can snuffer that one up back into the bottle.
Okay.
But that just goes to show you don't have to be as careful. A lot of people are. When you're first starting, be careful. But once you don't think that being aggressive is not going to get you the gold. Being aggressive will get you the gold. Just don't dip your pan too far at the front. Keep your pan fairly flat. Keep a swirling action going, not just the front over the front one, but keep the swirling action going at the same time, and you find that you won't lose any gold.
Okay, now.
Yeah, what I'll do now though, while Liz is putting that into the snuffer bottle, I'll pan this out, and we'll have a look at how much has actually gone back with that aggressive mode into this pan. And I would doubt very much if it's any more than a few little tiny bits of flour gold. All right, we'll get this right down to the bottom. Now I'm still being reasonably aggressive, not as aggressive as before because I know I've lost a little bit.
Uh-oh, he's scared now. He's scared now.
No, you can't avoid losing little tiny flour gold. So you've got to ask yourself, do you want every speck or do you want 99%?
Efficiency.
Yeah, but with us...
And what do you call this? Either you be quick and get a lot more than slow, efficient but slow. Because I got my words jumbled up, but it doesn't matter. Okay, so I'd rather be quick.
Yep. That there is truth in that, Liz. There's a bit of truth in being efficient, but the thing is volume. So if you're going to spend a lot of time getting every single flake, at the end of the day, you're going to do 100 pans less than the bloke going quick. The guy doing the 100 pans, at the end of the day, is going to get a lot more gold than you're ever going to get. So he can afford to throw a few bits out. He doesn't care about 2 bits. Like I say, if you can get yourself 95%, let's see what we've got missed. Oh, there you go. So now...
Okay, how much did you get? I mean, sorry.
Now, I'm not perfect. Nobody's going to be perfect, and no one's going to get it all. I can tell you that right now.
Okay, I'm scared now. Okay, how much have you got there? Show me. How much have you got?
Well, I've got a little bit, but...
What do you mean a little bit? You just chuck away a couple more.
No, look.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
That's what we've... I'll take that rock. Now, okay, I've foregone that by going very, very aggressively. But the difference is...
That's equivalent to... Okay, so...
That's from that amount of gold...
That was 5.5 grams. 5.58 to be exact.
I've gone to the equivalent of 1 flake, 1 big flake. They're so small, that flour gold, you can't stop all the flour gold, no matter how good you are. But the whole idea is, do you want that at the end of the day by being super careful? Or do you want that by doing volume? Now, you've still got to be careful. Panning is still an art. It's not that you can go along and just throw it in and throw it out.
Don't get it wet. I need that. Sorry. Okay, we swap. Hang on.
Yeah. Panning's still an art. You can't go super fast. You can't go super slow. There's a happy medium. You've got to get to the happy medium. Now, but the whole idea is, if you're testing, if you can get 99%, I won't even say 99, even get 95% with your panning, you're doing good enough. That's all you need to do in the hobby. Get 95%, and then you're in with a good chance. That's what I'd stick to. And by doing what we just showed you now, by classifying to a degree with a classifier or without a classifier, doesn't matter. You can use your hand as a classifier. You can go inch classification, you can go half-inch classification, you can go quarter-inch. You can just, it's an expandable rake you've got in your hand. You can classify it any size you want with your hand. Just classify with the hand, get it down to a point where you can liquefy when you're going over the front of, then deliquefy. If you're going over the front using the forward motion of your standard panning without the swirling action, make sure that you deliquefy. You've got to deliquefy all your gravel first before you go over the front of it. That's how you lose your flour gold. Like I said, heavy gold doesn't make any difference. You're not going to lose the heavy gold anyway. So stick with that and you'll have half a chance of being a reasonable panner. Okay, thanks guys. Yeah, what you do, hold it tight. What you do is you get most of your gold first and just put it in as per the lazy way. Make sure your vial's full of water and keep your hands dry. Always keep your hands dry and the gold will stick to your hands. Go like that, drop it all in. When you get to the point, we'll show you at the end, we'll just get most of it out first up. Okay, fellow prospectors, I'll get Liz to do the last little bit because she's got daintier hands, nice and dry. Now this is how you get it out of your pan into your vial if you haven't got a snuffer bottle with you. Make sure your fingers are dry, but Liz can explain it.
So we'll just put them all together, or gather them all together and pick it up. And it goes drop into the vial. So you see the gold there just dropping. And then now I can still pick that up. So I continue again. So now my fingers are wet and I've got, okay, I have to get rid of the water because it's floating my gold away. So now I got flour gold here and what I'm going to do is dry my fingers. So just wipe it on my shirt. There you go, right there. And then dip it there and what happens is the gold sticks to my finger. And I'll drop it into my vial.
Which is full of water.
Yes, and I'll dry it again. I'll pick up the gold again. These are flour ones now, so you can see some of them are actually floating on the surface there. So now I've got the last few tiny flakes remaining here, and it doesn't want to stick to, okay, some will still stick to my finger there, but if you find that they're not sticking in your fingers anymore or as well, what you can do is just dry your finger, just get it a little bit wet with your saliva, and you can just pick it up, dab it, and see how it picks up the tiny bits of gold. Dip it back in, and I got a few microscopic flakes in there.
They're the ones you give back to the river gods, and the river gods look after you next trip.
Yes, or you can just I'll dry my finger again, just get it wet, we'll lick it, and then we just picked it up. And the rest of that, you have to give some back, because if you don't, he's not going to reward you with 100 times more.
Yeah. You've got to give your little stuff back to the river gods.
Okay. Now the vial, I'm going to put some water on the vial.
Top it right up.
Yep. And then we'll stick it in the water so there's still space there, and then dunk the whole vial into the water with the cap. Reverse like that, over it, close it, and you don't have any air at all. And then there you go.
Magnifies your gold a little bit as well. You don't see any air bubbles.
And all the gold is nice and clean with no black sand in it.